Welcome to PTI BetterGradesFast.com multimedia tutorials. Today we're looking at the poem. We have a poem written on the whiteboard, one of my favorite poems, called The Eagle. Now this poem and everything else in the tutorial is in your workbook. Now this poem, today we're going to take a look at the rhythm in this poem. Let's see how the poem goes. The Eagle by Alfred Lord Tennyson. He clasped the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands. Ringed with the azure world he stands. The wrinkled sea beneath him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. Nice simple poem, just 6 lines. What's the first thing you notice about the rhythm in this poem? That's it, the rhyme. Hands, lands, stands, crawls, walls, falls. In poetry, when there's a pattern like this, we call it the rhyme scheme. Okay? And the rhyme scheme here, if you were to underline each of the words that rhyme, we can see that hands, lands, and stands all sound the same. So if you want, you can put a letter for each of them. So let's say you choose the first letter, A. So I'll put it on this side. A. In terms of our second verse, crawls, walls, falls, they all sound alike. So we can put B, B, B. That's the rhyme scheme. In this case, 3 words sound alike. We call it triplets. Normally in English, we have couplets. Couplets meaning that the first and second line, the last word rhymes. Third and fourth, the last word rhymes, and so on. So that first in this rhyme we looked at, hickory dickory dock, the mouse ran up the clock struck 1, the mouse ran down. Couplets. If in some poems there is a rhyme in the first and third or second and fourth lines, we call it alternating. Alternating because it skips a line. So Jack and Jill. Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown. Jill came tumbling after. Water and after rhymes. That's the second and fourth line. Hill and crown, they don't rhyme. So that's a rhyme scheme. But today we want to go a little beyond the rhyme scheme, because lots of poems today tend not to have a rhyme as it used to. Let's take a look at the number of syllables in each line. Syllables refers to the smallest sound in a word. So for example, he, 1 syllable. Clasp, 1 syllable. So let's go through it. He clasped the crag with crooked, 2 syllables there, crooked hands. So all this line has 8 syllables. Let's look at the second line. Close to the sun in lonely lands. 8 syllables again. Ringed with the azure world he stands. 8 syllables again. Every line has 8 syllables. But more than this, we don't read these lines, he clasped the crag with crooked hands. No, we put some stress on some syllables, and some syllables we don't put stress on. Stress means emphasis. Alright, so if I were, let me take off my rhyme scheme here so you won't get confused. If I were to put the stress on the words, let's see how it will read. I'll put a little tick for stress and a little U for unstress. So let's begin. He clasped the crag with crooked hands. So no stress here, stress there, down here, down here, yeah, yep. none here, none here. So he clasped the crag with crooked hands, or clasped to have one. So he clasped the crag with crooked hands. That's rhythm being created there. Certain words we stress, other words we don't. In rap music, in dub, in normal music, same thing happens. Second line, close. So we stress that. Close to the sun in lonely lands. See, there's a rhythm there. Close to the sun in lonely lands. Ringed with the azure world he stands. And that's how the poet creates some rhythm as well. We call this meter. M-E-T-R-E. Meter simply refers to having syllables, equal number of syllables. In the line, it helps with the rhythm. So at this first verse, he clasped the crag with crooked hands, close to the sun in lonely lands, ringed with the azure world he stands. If you try it with this one, you work it out. The ring could see beneath him crawls. He watches from his mountain walls, and like a thunderbolt he falls. So there's a rhythm there. Okay? So apart from the rhyme, apart from the meter, there's also other ways in which the poet creates rhythm. Remember alliteration? Alliteration was the repetition of the first sound in words. Let me take my little stress off of here so that you can have a clear idea of what we're going to do now. So alliteration, the repetition of the first sound in words. So we have k, class, k, crag, k, crooked. So between clasp, crag, and crooked, we have a k song being created. And in terms of that k song, it creates the rhythm. It also creates imagery, and we're going to come to that soon. So he clasped the crag with crooked hand, cr. We can imagine and grab it and crack. Then we have in line 2, lonely lands. L, first song, that's a bit of alliteration, it creates rhythm. We also said last time that we have assonance. Assonance is the repetition of vowel songs. So, a, clasp, crag, crooked hands, and that helps in the rhythm as well. It also helps in imagery. We'll talk about that later. So essentially, if you take a look at your notes in your workbook, you'll see that the rhythm is created through the rhyme, hands, lands, stands, crawls, walls, falls. It's also created through having the same number of syllables, meter, some stress, some unstressed in the lines, and through figurative language, figures of speech. In this case, alliteration, k, repetition of the k sound, or l. We also have assonance, repetition of the a sound, and that creates rhythm in the poem. Thank you for choosing PTI BetterGradesFast.com, and I'll see you soon.